Hey guys, before we start this episode of the Wadcast podcast, I want to talk to you about our sponsor. That is New Wave Swim Buoy. That's right. Ever since the introduction of swimming in the 2011 CrossFit Games, swimming's become a standard event in the games. If you don't want to be exiting the water dead fucking last, you want to incorporate swimming into your weekly training regimen. But just like weightlifting and gymnastics, swimming takes a lot of practice. Swimming in the open water is a whole different game. You're taking punches from other people, running into the water, and inevitably getting kicked in the face underwater. Training in open water in race-like conditions is critical for your survival as a competitor. Saying that you're not a strong swimmer is no longer enough and will not keep you alive when your heart rate's pounding at 95% max. You feel nauseous and disoriented, and you can't touch the bottom or stop to catch your breath. That's when the panic sets in. Yes, panic. Even for me, a lifeguard and a surfer for over 20 years, swimming in the ocean without my surfboard or kayak support made me panic. Our sponsor, New Wave Swim Buoy, designed a float that provides open water swimmers a personal confidence boosting device that tows behind you and is within the arm's reach. New Wave Swim Buoy will give you the mental confidence to push your swim training. Swimming gives you an edge, no question. If it's in the CrossFit Games, it's in my workout. New Wave is easy to inflate, light to carry, no pump is necessary. New Wave attaches to your waist with the provided belt and trails behind you, and it doesn't interfere. This thing is great. Whether you're just learning to swim or you're an Olympic swimmer, confidence, comfort, visibility. Visibility. Well, you don't want a boat or jet ski coming crashing into you when you have 3 more sets left for the day. That'd probably ruin dinner. So I know that CrossFit 417 Club, they're in Missouri. They use the New Wave Swim Buoy to make sure no one disappears and all the athletes are accounted for. And huge extra bonus, the buoy also has a compartment that is waterproof. So you can carry your phone, your keys, protein bar, whatever you want to store on your longer swims. So the New Wave is a must-have for anyone serious about being an all-around athlete. Confidence, visibility, storage, all to help you become a well-rounded CrossFit athlete. So do yourself a favor, head over to your local Amazon store, search New Wave Swim Buoys, and use the promo code WADCAST1. That's all caps, WADCAST1, for 10% off your next purchase. Get that? That's WADCAST1 for 10% off your next purchase. So go there. Go to Amazon, look up the New Wave Swim Buoy, and use WADCAST1 in your promo code checkout. So what else is going on? We're about to start this episode with, it's a very, very unique episode. I was very fortunate to be in Portland, Oregon, doing shows at Harvey's Comedy Club, and Troy Willis, who is a very, very good friend of the show, I'm starting to talk like Donald Trump. Very, very, very good. He's a great friend of the show. He contacted me, set me up while I was in town with a couple athletes last week, Carlene Matthews. This week, he set me up with none other than Lauren Jenai, the co-founder of CrossFit. And oh, did we have some questions for her. She's amazing. She's interesting. She's fucking cool. And I could have talked to her for hours. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and let me know what you think. You can always email us at wadcastpodcast@yahoo.com. You can go to our new Instagram page. We have a new Instagram page, which is Wadcast Podcast. We have our Twitter address. We have our Facebook page. And hit us up. Let us know what you think. And if you want to come out and see me live, I had a bunch of CrossFitters out at my Portland shows at Harvey's Comedy Club. But now this week, I'm in Las Vegas. I will be Las Vegas at the Comedy Cellar in the Rio Hotel Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So all of those dates, I am there. Okay. And that's the 19th through the 25th. If you want to see me, come out and see me. And you know what? A lot of times guys hit me up. If you're nice, you send me a nice message, I get you some comedy tickets. Don't tell the clubs. Okay? Then next week, all week, I'll be in New York City. I'm filming a TV show. I think it's called Comedy Cellar Tonight. And that's on the 28th and the 1st. I think they have tickets for those shows. It's probably sold out because that's the Comedy Cellar in New York City. And that club sells out every night. And that's where I'll be probably every night. If you want to come down and see me, you're a New Yorker. I don't have a box to work out in there. I would like to. I'm going to take my nephew to anyone that does CrossFit for kids. I'm getting that little fucker in shape. So let me know. If you saw the workout I made him do today, brutal. And he's 12, and I crushed him. So I think he's gonna have rhabdo. Anyway, that's not funny, but it is funny, but it's not. The following week after that, I'll be in Reno at the Laugh Factory. I'm not sure what casino that's in, but it's the world famous Laugh Factory. You can check me out. That's the 3rd through the 9th of December. And then the week after that, I'll be in Lake Tahoe. I still need a guest for Tahoe. I have a guest for Reno. I'm going to be interviewing someone in Tahoe. If you know anyone up there that's a good guest, I was trying to get Johnny Mosley, a friend of mine from he was an Olympic skier, won a couple gold medals. If I can get Johnny, I'll have him on. But he's sometimes in San Francisco. So that is the 12th through the 16th. I'll be in Tahoe at the Improv at Harrah's. And then the next week, the 18th, I'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina on Lake Norman at the Galway Hooker. Perfect name for me. That's the 18th. That's a big show. Come out and see me in Charlotte, Lake Norman. And then I'll be in, where else am I going? Minneapolis. That's all New Year's Eve. So these dates are all coming up. Check it all out at eddyiff.com. And please enjoy this episode with Lauren Jenai, formerly Glasman. Yeah, just enjoy. Welcome to the Wadcast podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Ift, with a very, 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 very special episode today. It was a surprise. I am very, very lucky to be here with Lauren Jenai. Many of you know who I'm talking about. Any of you who are new to CrossFit may not know, but she is probably one of the most important people ever in the history of CrossFit, for sure. She is one of the co-founders of CrossFit that you, as you know it. And I was lucky enough I'm in Portland, Oregon, doing shows at Harvey's Comedy Club, all sold out, by the way. Thank you. That was awesome.
How long are you here for? Or how many shows did you do?
I did Thursday night, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, and I have one more tonight.
Oh, okay.
Which you're very welcome to come to, but I don't expect people to show up when I give them that short a notice. But I came to Portland not even knowing you lived here, and Troy Willis, who is a good friend of the show, said to me, hey, you know who's here? And I was like, no. And he told me, I went, oh my God. And he said, yeah, I'll reach out. And here and behold, here I am in Lauren Jenai's house, the co-founder of CrossFit Inc. Is that what it is?
Yep, it's CrossFit Inc.
And I go pretty far back, not the whole way back. So I probably I'm trying to think when I started, 2008.
If it's been 10 years.
Yeah, about 2008 I got into it. And you've had a crazy history with the whole thing, and now you've got your own company, Manifest, which is a new company that you're the CEO of.
Yep.
Let's get into that first. Let's talk about. I want to talk about coming here. This was an awesome trip. Your house is beautiful. Your dogs are hilarious. She's got four Frenchies, and I have one. You guys all know if you listen to the show. I have Harlow, which is a half Frenchie, and the energy. Imagine it's like she's got a CrossFit class going on in her house at all times.
Well, yeah, and you weren't even here with all 4 kids. 2 of my kids are gone, so it was usually the 4 dogs, 4 kids. I got 5 parrots and whatever else.
I love talking to you too because I can hear the Philly accent.
Yeah.
So Lauren is from Philadelphia. I'm from Pittsburgh, so it's like we got PA pride going here.
Go Eagles!
Yeah, you guys say water. We say water, but we say yins.
Right.
Which is pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
So let's get into Manifest first.
Okay.
What is it exactly? I'm not familiar with it so much.
Manifest has been something I've been developing over the last 4 years. They kind of came out of my exit of CrossFit from CrossFit, where I still had this need to create and build a community and build a company. And what I realize is there's a huge demographic that, despite of all CrossFit successes and as much great impact CrossFit does and will do, there's a group of people who are what I call underserved by the health and fitness communities. And those are people who generally are too intimidated to go to a gym, or they're definitely not going to do CrossFit. They have tried all kinds of things and they're still not succeeding or getting what they want out of health and fitness. And basically that group of people are the group of people who have or are at risk for chronic disease, metabolic syndrome and chronic disease. And based on like the 20 years I have building CrossFit and dealing with people and, my understanding of exercise science and nutrition science and apparently behavior science. We touched on this a little bit when we were talking about training dogs. I guess when you spend 20 years working with people and building a business, you learn a lot about how people tick. So I kind of took all that experience and just kind of took a few steps back and said, what's missing? You know, what are the barriers to entry for the people who are not working out, who are not happy with their health and fitness, and just kind of started to whittle away, conceptually, and realized there is an opportunity to serve these people, through really easy low tech solutions like CrossFit is, you know, a very low tech solution, or has been to, you know, elite athleticism. But I wanted to create a program, a system whereby people could incrementally get involved in health and fitness. No big expectations, not performance based, not gauging success by percent body fat or anything like that, but just let's get moving, kind of concept. And let's make sure you know what you're putting in your mouth and how that affects your health.
So what is the methodology? Is it an online programming or is
so at first I actually started my garage when I lived in Scottsdale.
This is hysterical. So you started in a garage again.
Well, I don't know if I'm crazy, completely insane, or if,
we all are.
I just, I created something, with my ex-husband, with Greg, and I know how to do that really well.
Right.
I know how to build a community. I know how to change people's physiques, their health.
How long were went from the formation of CrossFit till when you left CrossFit? You didn't leave because forgive me if I'm wrong. When you two were married, you were involved in it the whole way. And then even after you separated, didn't you have your own affiliate?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time.
Yeah. I know the ins and outs of this, of not just CrossFit, but the industry, the fitness industry, gym industry.
It's only been a few years that you've been out of CrossFit, correct?
I was separating in 2009. The divorce didn't happen till 2013. And that was when I no longer, was involved, legally in the company. But, as the separation happened, I had minimal involvement. It was easier for me to kind of, I had 4 babies for step back and be a mom and, try to not get in the way of, making the situation worse by trying to be overly involved in the company.
I can't imagine how, busy you are at being a mom. You've got 4, not 1, not 2, not 3. 4 kids. I have 1. I can't handle it. And my wife does 90% of it. So, right there, doing that is one thing. You've got home, everything. This is incredible. So, I can't imagine trying to even run an affiliate. Like when people do it, especially when I see women do it, I'm like, oh my God, you're incredible. Like how you manage the children and a job. Like guys, this whole traditional thing of you go do the work. I used to think my dad was really a hard worker because he would go to work at 7 a.m, come home at 7 p.m, and play golf on weekends with clients.
Right.
And then I realized he was just good at hiding.
Exactly.
My mom was doing all the work and my dad was hiding because we had 5 kids. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Where are you in that spectrum?
I'm in the middle, of course.
Okay,
that shows the need, the insecurity,
right.
need for attention, the microphone in front of my face all the time. But so were you in Scottsdale at the time?
When I had my affiliate, it was in Prescott, Arizona.
Okay.
And
where's Prescott?
It is basically halfway between Phoenix and Flagstaff.
Oh, okay.
It's really beautiful. It's, Phoenix is super hot and Flagstaff can get super cold and snowy, but, Prescott is just sunny and glorious and has 4 seasons. It's a small town, but very, very lovely.
So what brought you to Portland?
Portland, interesting. I had never been here. Everybody my entire life said, Lauren, you have to go to Portland. You'll love Portland. You should. And of course, I'm kind of ornery, so I'm like, you don't know me, you don't tell me where I want to live. So I never paid much attention, but I ended up visiting here literally one time, and fell in love. It was actually the weirdest thing. I would be at airports traveling and hear like a flight calling from going to Portland, right, and my heart would sink. Like, I need to go home. It was like such a weird draw to come here.
Well, you do fit. I noticed you're all tatted up. You got the sleeves, everything. This place, like, I feel left out. I feel like I'm the only one without a tattoo in Portland.
It's kind of common.
Yeah. It's a great city, though. I've really enjoyed it. This is my second time performing here, and I think I was expecting it to be the perception that everyone gets of like Portlandia, and everyone is so politically correct. And
it's like that.
It is, but
it's straight up like that. Are you kidding me?
I haven't had one complaint on stage, and I was sure. I mean, I get Vancouver to San Francisco, anywhere that's like that. I'm like, the radical liberals are coming after me. Like, not one complaint yet.
Well, I mean, I think that is one of the cool things about Portland is it's radical, and it's obviously radically left. But there's a whole weird element here, which in a way allows for a lot of diversity. Yeah. There's some areas of the culture here that, there's not a lot of diversity. You should think this way, or, you're not respected. But
I think a lot of the weirdness of San Francisco came here, because San Francisco became this tech city that all the money came in, and it pushed the weirdness out, and they had nowhere to go. And this place is growing so fast. So it is.
Well, that's now that I am from here, right?
You're getting all of those people are coming.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. The Californians, Jesus, no. They need to stay away.
Well, we're burning down. So you came here just like on a whim.
I mean, I was at a point where, I wanted to leave Arizona because I'd spent a lot of time there with, and my divorce was finalized, and I felt like it was time for a new phase in my life. And my kids had been here, and loved it. And they actually had, really pushed to move here as well. And so we moved here, and actually I had a plan of living between here and Arizona because I hate the winter. Yeah, and so, the winter here is a problem. So in my little brain, I was like, oh, well, I could spend winters in Scottsdale and, summers here, because summers here are terrible. Don't move here.
Why?
No, I'm kidding. Oh, we don't want any people.
Okay, I gotcha.
That's what we say.
Yeah, I gotcha.
It's true, though. People lie about how bad the weather is because they don't want people coming here. But that actually, in theory, sounded really good. But then, having 4 kids and keeping them in public school or in school and stability became an issue. So I had to eventually pick one or the other, and the kids demanded it was Portland.
Yeah. Oh, wow. The kids like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They love it here. It's actually it's a very lovely community for families. For raising kids, it's very good.
When you were involved with CrossFit, you were in Santa Cruz, though.
Started in Santa Cruz, and then Greg and I moved to Prescott.
Oh, okay. So he went with you to, I didn't know.
We moved to Prescott, 2006.
Somebody told me recently that he was down in Venice Beach for a little bit working at Gold's. Is that true?
Well, that's where he started. Okay. That's how he learned how to coach, and how he learned a lot about nutrition, because they actually used to call Greg, the other trainers, watch and learn, because he was like this younger kid coming in. And, in Venice Beach, the trainers there all, they're working with celebrities. They're professional bodybuilders. And I guess he came in and he would just like pick the brains of everybody who he saw as successful, who's like getting results with their clients. And that's a big part of where he gleaned his wealth of knowledge about how to change people's physique and fitness. And
so did you meet him in?
I met Greg in Santa Cruz. So he moved. He lived in Southern California. He moved up to Santa Cruz in 1995. And ended up in a Gold's Gym
in Santa Cruz,
which I was a member of.
Okay.
And this was right around the birth of the book, Entering the Zone by Dr. Barry Sears.
Yeah, the fish oil guy.
Mm-hmm. And Greg was working with him pre-launch of the book. And he had Barry Sears come out to Santa Cruz actually and give a talk about the zone diet, like eating 40, 30, 30. And I went to that little seminar and I was just kind of blown away because at the time, everything you knew was about just cut all the fat out of your diet, you know. And so here's this guy, Greg, and he's like, it's not bicep curls that are important, it's pull-ups, and you do have to eat fats. And it was this heresy. A lot of people now, they don't realize how extremely bizarre that perspective was and how hostile people were to it. We spent years being just people laughing and poo-pooing and going, you're dangerous. I mean, now there's the dangerous thing because of the rhabdo and stuff, but just like, if you want people to eat fats, you're going to kill them. All that's,
most doctors.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the battle, we're still fighting.
So funny. I have, my dad's cardiologist is a friend, and, I've kind of told him what I do, and he used to call me an idiot, and I'd tell him, he's like, you can change your diet, you can't change your genetics, and blah, blah, blah. And one day, after like 2 years of calling me a moron and call me Dr. Google all the time, he called me and said, he goes, what do you think of coconut oil?
Right.
He goes, I'm going to start cooking with coconut oil. And I'm like, why are you asking me?
Right.
I'm an idiot.
Right.
And he was like, well, I'm hearing all these good things. And I'm like, you're a doctor. Go read medical journals. I don't know this stuff. I'm just listening to people that I think know what they're talking about. But more and more, my doctor friends, and I'm like, why are you the last to come over? Why did it take the public to go before you?
The thing about that, I thought about this a lot because it does play into my new company as well, is doctors, their job isn't to spend time or effort really working with people with the way they eat. Yeah. And that's not there. They're not there. I mean, doctors are usually, my neighbor here who's amazing. He's an ER doc, and I'm like, you're here at the front line to save people's lives, not let them die. Right. Cause we were talking about, how to control blood sugar and, cholesterol and, talking about diabetes epidemic. And he's got a very jaded view, and which upsets me in some ways. I'm like, how could you be so like, you could make a difference, you're the doctor. Yeah. And I realized, no, if he was doing that, people would be coming in with snake bites or, fucking dying, bleeding to death. And, he hasn't got time to do that.
Yeah, that's my buddy says that all the time. He goes, you don't understand. He's an orthopedic surgeon. He goes, right. I'm on an assembly line. Right. He goes, they're moving me from surgery room to surgery room. Yep. They're already cut open. I'm going in. I'm fixing whatever it is. And then I wash up and go to the next room. Mm-hmm. He goes, I don't have time to be figuring out their diet and what's going to prevent.
The problem is they should be admitting that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and not. Right. I mean, because that's the thing.
Not fighting with you.
I still with my new company am fighting this whole thing of credibility. Like, well, you need doctors to make you credible. I'm like,
interesting.
The doctors are the problem. Like, seriously, what? Okay, I need the people on board who are telling people to cut all the fat out of their diet and to just walk 10 minutes every day. I need them to validate me, in terms of like, what works. I'm like,
so I'm sorry, I'm going to jump back.
That's all right.
When you went to Santa Cruz, you came from Philly to Santa Cruz?
Yes.
What brought you to Santa Cruz?
Oh, similar story. My family and I had come out to California on vacation. We flew into San Francisco and drove to LA, but we stopped in Santa Cruz along the way. And when we got back to Philly, my mom, my stepdad, and myself, we all were like, we all just kind of came together and like, we need to live in Santa Cruz. It was just like a calling.
Yeah.
And actually, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me because, back east is a wonderful place. And I hear this a lot from people especially Philly. Like, I'm so grateful I'm from there, but to live there, not so much.
Well, my father-in-law, who's been on this show, who was a football player for the Eagles when I first met him, he grew up in Pittsburgh.
Did he know John Wellborn?
No, he doesn't. But Wellborn knows who he is.
Okay.
And my father-in-law is a lot older than Wellborn.
That's what I was figuring. That's what I was like.
But my father-in-law, I said to him when I first met him, I go, "Oh, you're from Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh." He lives in North Carolina now. I live in California. I said, "Isn't Pittsburgh great? Isn't it amazing?" And he goes, "I don't want to live there anymore."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, neither do I."
Yeah, no.
And that's I I was just talking to a guy from Portland. He goes, look at our skyline. Look how beautiful it is. I go, Pittsburgh's nicer. I said, Pittsburgh has a better skyline. I go, I'd rather live here. But Pittsburgh it's a great city. It's a beautiful city. Don't want to insult it. Sort of, maybe. I've got some things wrong with it. Yeah. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of you Pittsburgh listeners. Come at me. I'll be at the Improv in January. Come find me. I'll fight you in the parking lot. It's just, I get that. Like if you're an East Coaster, and there's nothing wrong with that. You go West Coast, East Coast. But when you went there, did you start training or were you just at the gym?
Oh, no. So the funny thing is like I grew up completely unathletic. I was a couch potato most of my childhood. Actually, I was an obese child.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So actually, this ties in.
All those tasty cakes.
Exactly. And hoagies.
Steaks.
Yeah. Because I got a dog named Hoagie and a dog named Tasty Cake.
I have to ask you this. I know everyone does it. Which Geno's, Pat's? Which one?
Jim's Steaks on South Street.
Yes. I'm totally. And that's so great that you went up. Everyone asks that question. I always go Jim's. Jim's is so much better. And then Tony Luke's I like for the pork roll. Tony Luke's is another place off. It's not even, and my father-in-law took me there. He's like,
I might be too old for that.
He's like, you got to get the pork roll. And I had it and I was like, this is amazing.
Pork roll.
But the cheesesteak. Yeah. There's nothing better in this world.
No, I actually found there's a service that you could have. They'll deliver from Jim's or Pat's.
Heard of that, yeah.
Actually, I'm doing that for Thanksgiving because I don't want to cook for Thanksgiving. I'm ordering from was it Carnegie Deli in New York?
Really?
Yeah, like big fat pastrami sandwich.
Oh, that's hysterical.
But I was like, and then I found the cheesesteaks. I'm like, dang, I should have done that. But maybe that'll be for Christmas.
Yeah, Jim's. I know a bunch of people that have tried to do it out here. I'm like, you can't do it. You don't have the water.
Yeah, the water makes the bread different. Yeah.
I forget. I know the name of the bakery in.
I always forget the name.
New Jersey. It's called Amarosa.
Amarosa. Yeah.
That's the secret.
That is the secret.
Yeah. Yep. It's phenomenal. So grew up in Philly, moved to Santa Cruz.
I grew up like a little fat kid. But one of the interesting things about my past is that when I was about 11, I went trick-or-treating. It was Halloween. And I ate a bunch of candy and got super, super sick.
Right.
Like, I was like, anything that does that to my body can't be good for me.
Right.
And so I was like, in my brain, my 11-year-old brain, I cut all sugar out of my diet.
Wow. At 11.
At 11. And in my brain, sugar was white sugar. Right.
Right.
So I did. And I went from being kind of a fat, miserable, emotional, grumpy. I mean, I was a happy person, but in a lot of ways, in retrospect, not so much.
Same way.
To, a normal size and felt better and completely changed by the fact that I cut sugar out of my diet when I was 11. So this is like a foreshadowing of my entire life because that's kind of what, and then I played with a lot of diets through that between 11 and, 24, which is when I met Greg, from being vegan, vegetarian, eating, just being an eater, which is my favorite, just eat everything and be totally fat. I've been through all of that. And then when I, became aware of the zone diet and I started working with Greg, and learning more about the importance of proteins, that was a huge change in my life. Like it completely altered me, but I don't think it would have altered me if I hadn't had the experience as a kid with the whole thing with sugar. So it's like everything kind of made sense to me.
But when I was a kid, there was no one telling you anything was bad.
No.
I mean, there was a little bit of like sugar will make you hyper. That's where parents would be like,
or the bad for your teeth.
Yeah, and bad for your teeth, which it's funny. I was talking to a dentist who was telling me bread is the worst thing for your teeth because of the acid. It breaks
yeast
down. But that was the only thing. Like I remember eating Burger King as a kid going, we're going to be the first generation that like grew up on this stuff. And we're going to find out it's really doing bad shit. Like I had that revelation as a young kid. And I wish I had told the listeners this idea. I got it from a neighbor, but it was Halloween a couple of weeks ago. With my 3-year-old, what we do for Halloween is she goes trick-or-treating. She gets all her candy. And she knows that she is giving the candy that night to the Switch Witch.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who does this or where it came up, but it's amazing. So she's so excited to get as much candy as she can.
Mm-hmm.
She puts the candy like on the table at night and the Switch Witch comes and brings her a present.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And she then no longer has the candy.
Right. And she loves the present. Like the present's way more. I mean, candy's great. Who doesn't want candy, but a present?
But the whole concept is the more candy you get, the better the present you get. And then my wife goes, I go, what do you do with the candy then? She's like, oh, you donate it. I'm like, oh, so you get someone else sick. Like you're just passing it on to someone more unfortunate.
You just made me picture something really funny. Like the candy should go in this like big container, everybody, and like just like explode it, like set it on fire.
Yeah. We have the Sugar Man Festival where we light it on fire.
Yeah, things might turn that way in the next 10 years.
I would like to see, I think it'd be great to just start seeing, I told my daughter, I said, hey, if you get any healthy candy, like if anyone gives you, like a piece of fruit, or they give you like an RX bar or something health, I go, you get to keep that. The Switch Witch gets sick.
Well, the funny thing about that is those aren't healthy either.
No, well, it's funny.
Just as bad.
I'd rather have the RX bar than anything, but
sure.
When you're going high fructose with like fruit and stuff like that, no, it's, but if it's got some fiber, we did like a little bit of fruit with her. But she's a pretty good eater. I mean, she's like any other kid. She likes sugar, and when she can get it, she will eat it.
Yeah.
And, I had my sister-in-law one day was giving her Skittles.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, what are you doing? She goes, she's a kid. Let her have some fun. And I go, okay, give her heroin.
Right.
She'll have fun with heroin. And she's like,
it's not the same.
She's like, you're so not fun. And I'm like,
oh, no, yeah, you're just not fun. You're like, no, I'm trying to do heroin. Come on.
Yeah, I just don't want her to grow up like I did and have ADD and fall asleep in first period and sleep through school and not learn anything and end up becoming a spastic comedian. So let's try to fix her or prevent this.
Yeah.
So you get out to Santa Cruz. You're living in Santa Cruz.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and so I ended up joining Gold's Gym because I was ready to make a change. I wanted to, do something different and lose weight, I guess. But I had been trying to cut all the fat out of my diet, doing the traditional like late 80s, early 90s thing, and I actually had some results from that. But met Greg and I started eating differently and just thrived, and also just became super infatuated with the whole fucking concept. And, first time I worked out with Greg, it was the first time I'd ever been sore from exercise in my time. And I mean, I literally was a couch potato, and I went through Greg training me.
And this is Gold's Gym in Santa
Cruz. And I was beyond sore, like really, really sore. And it's funny because I had a girlfriend who also trained with him, like I think that same week, and she got similarly sore. Yeah. And I was just like, isn't it awesome? And she's like, he wanted to kill me. I hate him. And I was like, there is the birth of that's the CrossFit, the divide with CrossFitters, non-CrossFitters, people who love that shit and people who don't.
The sadists. Yeah. There is something sadistic.
But I got it. I was like, that's where happiness lives. If you can't push yourself and, to that extreme and get on those outer limits, which, produce all the,
At the time, was he having you do the kind of...
No, it was very different.
It was already? Or it was the traditional training?
No, it was not. Oh, no, it was very different because he came to the table with a really unique approach because he had the background of being a gym. I mean, I'm sure CrossFitters have heard this, but... he was a gymnast in high school. I
like how you say gymnast. He was at Pepperdine the other night, and I was there because I live right near there. My friend from CrossFit Malibu had him there, and I went down to watch, and he says gymnast.
Yes, well, yes, gymnast. I'm surprised that hasn't stuck with me.
And I was like, have I been saying it wrong my whole life? Because I was on a...
Well, I think that's the East Coast thing.
I was on a car
We're
podcast,
lazy.
and I said Porsche, and the guy got so mad at me. He's like, please stop saying Porsche. It's Porsche. Yeah. It's a family, and you're pronouncing their name wrong. Call it Porsche. And I was like, okay. And when I heard Greg say gymnast, I was like, have I been offending every gymnast?
Perhaps. But they're they expect that.
Yeah.
Nobody's as perfect as a gymnast.
Yeah.
So he had that experience, but he also loved to ride bikes, and with his friends in Southern California. And, he also, probably one of the reasons he thrived as a gymnast in high school is he started lifting weights, which was a little bit more uncommon at the time. And he got, I think his dad bought him a set of Sears dumbbells or something. Yeah. He started actually mimicking the gymnastics moves with the dumbbell to supplement what he was doing for gymnastics, and like just became uber strong.
Right.
And so like, he would hang out with his friends. He would be stronger than, he wouldn't be stronger than his powerlifting friends, but he was stronger than his cyclist friends or maybe even his gymnast friends. And,
gymnasts are pretty badass.
Well, he already was one of those. Yeah. So, but if you were that and you added strength training, which they didn't do at the time, weight training, that would make a huge difference for him. And, his cycling friends obviously were faster on a bike than him, but his weightlifting friends or, his gymnast friends couldn't ride bikes, couldn't keep up with him. So he was like, there's this magic place where you might not be the best in these domains, but that you're really damn good in all of them is probably a superior place in terms of, ultimate elite athleticism.
Yeah. So that's what,
and that's basically the nugget. Yeah.
And so did you guys formulate this concept, or this was his and you were, because my wife works on all my businesses with me, and she's, we work together where it might be my concept, but she's the reason it works.
Well, yeah. That's, and that's such a special, it's such a special relationship. And, people who don't have that, who are married or couples, I don't know how they survive, because I don't know. I felt like that was a really big part of his and I's friendship and relationship and business and whatever, because we just, accented each other.
Right.
And a lot of, Greg came to the table with a lot of information, a lot of experience, a lot of passion, but didn't necessarily have a business model. And even then he was still formulating, still working out the nuts and bolts of this thing that he is brewing in his head and how it should work and how it should look. And, when I got involved, he was a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great trainer. He had some amazing changes in the people he's worked with. But business model wise, that's something that he and I developed over years. I knew early on, how significant CrossFit would be, just because I knew how it affected me. I was like,
wow,
I know that this, and he'll tell you this story to this day. He's like, people say, did you ever think they'd be this successful? And he's like, I didn't, but she did. She always knew. And I did, because I had that personal, experience, but what it was going to look like in the, what form this thing was going to be, what business model, what, community, that just totally was organically developed over time. And there's no way you could really go
it's got to be mind blowing for you.
Oh, you don't even know.
Around
you don't even know.
Everywhere, airports, wherever you go, and just seeing t-shirts.
You don't know.
It's
you don't know. It is. Even to this day, it's still
it's got to freak you out.
Oh, it does freak me out. It's completely, especially since I'm not involved, because that's one of the things that really, the dynamic change was really interesting, because CrossFit sometimes gets criticized for being a cult.
Yeah.
It kind of is. There is that aspect.
Kind
of. And, I didn't say that too loud, but getting out of the community gave me a really neat perspective of the community.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which is fascinating. And it's,
See, I've always joked that I've never been in the community.
Yeah, right.
I've always been observed. It's everything I do in my life. I never jump in with 2 feet. I've always got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, which means you can never truly be super successful in it. But it's almost like with my life, I always say I have this healthy balance that, I might not have gotten where I want my career in comedy, or as a runner, or as a surfer, or as a skier, or as a CrossFitter, but I try to balance them all.
Well, it's exactly like the CrossFit concept of, you want to be really good. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Where are we going with that?
How big this
Oh, yeah. So it's funny. It's really interesting to be so hyper focused on something, because as CrossFit's kind of, exploding, I was still working where your nose is to the grind.
Right.
You have to come up and breathe is hard at that point in building something.
Was it happening? Like a lot of things I see with success in my life or friends' lives, sometimes it just happens so fast that it was.
No. Oh my God. That did not feel fast. People always, it happened overnight. I'm like, fuck you.
But
not really.
What I meant by that is sometimes you throw shit at the wall. You throw 5 things and you see which one starts working and you go with that because that's taking off. And did you feel like this was taking off, or did you feel like, oh, this is such a struggle and we're working so hard?
Oh, there's never a struggle. When I say no to the grind, it's not like this is a struggle. This is hard.
There was a flow?
Every day from day one.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I feel like this was one of those things that just,
no, it was wildfire. There's absolutely wildfire.
That's what I think is amazing about it. And I think the reason I say this is because I think people like looking in life for something that they're going to be successful for. Sometimes when you have that struggle, kind of, Ricky Gervais said once, you should quit. He said, because, they always say, never quit, never give up, never give up. And he goes, he wanted to be Ricky Gervais, famous comedian, The Office. He said he wanted to be a musician. Mm-hmm. And he goes, if I didn't quit that, I never would have become the comedian and the TV star that I am, because he goes, it wasn't happening.
Right. That is a huge, I think one of Greg and I's strong suits was recognizing. And when I say wildfire, I want to go back to that, because I think the passion, the drive was wildfire. The growth of the company, not so much.
Really?
We were dirt broke for a long time. It was.
For how long? Give me an estimation.
When I met Greg, we lived in my mom's house.
Yes.
I was worried about money for a long time. Honestly, probably up until close to when my babies were born. So 2009, 10, I think.
And you started what, 2000? Was it?
1995.
1995.
So 95 to 2006, that's a long time.
That is a long time.
And there's spectacular growth there, but like when you start from zero,
right.
Doubling in business isn't
0 to 0 is still 0. Yeah.
So,
but that's a good thing for people to realize.
Absolutely.
Because there is that struggle there, even though there is, people are enjoying what you do and wanting to be a part of it and wanting the growth, but you're not seeing that. You're still trying to build that fire.
But what's one of the things that I admire most about Greg is, every time that we're struggling or there's some doubt about the growth or the direction, the only thing he would always revert to this: are we doing the best job we can for our clients?
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Improve the product. We're not going to be able to pay rent. Improve the product. What if this happens? Improve the product.
So funny you say that, because and this is me not being funny. This is me being more of a Tony Robbins type person. But I like comedians. I'm always I've had people tell me, just be undeniably funny. Just stop worrying about the business.
Yeah,
stop worrying
right.
Be really funny. And I tell comedians that when they're working on their social media, and I probably do 90% administration, 10% comedy. And I feel like if I would switch that to 90% comedy, work on my comedy, and 10% administration, my career would be just so much better. And I think so many people are worried because capitalism kind of embeds this work, when it's no, perfect what you do.
Perfect.
And in Buddhism, they say worry about the intention and not the outcome.
Yep.
And if we'd all worry about the intention, the outcome would be so much better. But we're always so outcome oriented.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because I'm kind of circling around that with, having another company and, building a company and kind of a new concept takes a lot of time, and it takes money, and it takes perseverance. And so it's really easy to fall into, let's just get this going. Let's just push a product out there. Let's just, we need to make money. We've invested too much. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
These things that are brilliant and like a career or it's a skill or whatever, they marinate over time and have to build. And it's a magical process in some ways.
I have a weird question about that. So having already succeeded and done it and created something monstrous, the second time around, is it easier or harder? Because easier, I would think you can go, I've done this. I know the struggle. I know all the ins and outs now. Or is it harder because you have expectations of, oh my gosh, this isn't going like last time, or this is painful to go through this again and to start all over. Which one is it?
It's all of those.
Okay.
The coolest part is, I got this. And something Greg and I always talked about too is like CrossFit failed or whatever. He's like, we would be successful at anything we do. Like we could open a taco shop and it'd be great because of the work ethic and understanding, what it takes to build something and to constantly improve your product and just serve, your customers or your community.
I love how you're talking about constantly improve your product because it is about, what's the book that I love? Ryan Flaherty told me about this book. He's here, head of Nike training.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking about it's the something edge. What is the name of the book? I love the book. I always tell people to read it. But it's just, it's all those incremental changes over time.
That's it. That's all that matters.
Yep.
And so it's interesting though, because I'm actually going through this because in part of Manifest, I've developed an app that goes along with the program so that I have facilitators who work with participants and hopefully virtually. So this app is kind of a tool within the program. And it's taking a lot more money, a lot more time. And there's part of me that's like, maybe I just like building things and I don't want this to go to market. But then the other part of me is like, no, it's just not ready yet. And so what? That it should have been ready, or I would have felt good about it should have felt good about it a year ago. Doesn't matter. It's not ready. It's not ready till it's ready.
Yeah.
And, especially if you're doing something unique in life, not just, becoming a lawyer or doctor, but there's pretty much a stepwise process. If you're doing something unique, you don't know. That's why I was alluding to earlier. Like I didn't know what CrossFit was going to look like in its form of success, but I knew we'd be there because you can't know until you go down that road.
Right.
And part of going down that road is hitting walls. This is another point I was going to make. Like you can, like you were talking about failing. That's fine. You hit a wall, you fail. Great. Get back up. Now continue to go incrementally, however, to that place you want to be. And that just takes time and patience and, a lot of faith, I guess. And faith I say in a weird way because I don't mean that in a religious way.
I want to stop 1 second to talk about our sponsor who makes it possible for us to do this show. In the search for new ideas on how to address the world's ever-increasing food insecurity? Huh? Are you? Well, one of the biggest ideas is actually quite tiny. Insect farming. Yes, that's what I said. Although a new concept to the United States, it's been normal all over the globe for centuries, with over 80% of the world already eating insects in their daily diet. Finally, there's a company called EXO, EXO, and they've created the next generation of sustainable, eco-friendly cricket snack foods that are good for you and good for the planet. It's a superfood in every way. Crickets offer massive nutrition. They leave minimal environmental footprint, and it's time for you to make the choice to leave an impact on the world while fueling your body with premium nutrients. And if you're worried about taste, don't be. EXO's award-winning 3-star Michelin-starred chef has made sure that creating what many are calling the tastiest and most nutritious bars for endurance athletes. You hear that? Tastiest, most nutritious bars for endurance athletes. So, this guy doesn't mess around. They are absolutely delicious. Their classic protein bars are made with real food, and they're minimally processed, and they're so dense with nutrients, and they're perfect for giving you the fuel to get through a workout. So get yourself a variety box now and try all the flavors like blueberry vanilla and banana bread at exoprotein.com. That's exoprotein.com. You use our discount code, which is WODcast, you're going to get 15% off. Join the EXO movement today, like my buddy Dylan at Physiologic does, and like I'm doing now. And join it today. Try moving towards a healthier life and a healthier planet. That's exoprotein.com. Podcast in the promo code, 15% off. One of my big questions is, and you don't have to talk about this if you want, your divorce was pretty public. I mean, because of, it's almost like being the pastor of a church, because you have all these people underneath you. And so if, like most people, if the CEO of a company, it's not their business. But for some reason, because people were affiliates, because I personally, I don't give a shit. It's not my business. I didn't care about what's going on in your personal life. And I still don't. Like, that's your life. I believe, like, personal, whatever. But because people were affiliates, there was so much, like, gossip and everything. And I was like, wow, it's like being a celebrity. Like, you had to go through, like, a public divorce.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah.
Did you feel like that, or did you be like, fuck it, I'm just doing my own shit?
I'll be honest. If you want to know how I felt about it, I felt like I had grown a community and a family and given my entire life and soul and spirit to something, and that everybody involved, when push came to shove, turned on me and abandoned me. And partially because it became a public thing. It didn't need to be.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be. It shouldn't have been. And I guess that's the problem with celebrity. Like, not that I feel like I'm a celebrity. Greg maybe more so, of course, but, you become victim to some craziness. Like, I mean, my biggest thing out of that is don't believe everything you read.
Not at all. But it happens. Like, I have friends that like, my neighbors down the street got a divorce, and my wife started taking sides immediately. And I said, hey, you have no idea what's going on inside their house.
Right.
You have no idea about who's wrong and right. And I said, you know who's probably wrong? Both of them. I said, they both probably. So, like, that's their business. That's not our business. And you shouldn't but I understand.
Well, the thing that was the thing that complicated our situation, because I agree with you 100%, and it really isn't anybody's business. And, divorce is a very personal thing. But we had a company.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just because people are affiliates. I mean, this was a company, a really successful company. And, because of Arizona law, we couldn't be divorced without resolving the community property issue of the company.
Is it a 50-50?
It was 50-50.
Yeah,
and so that's where it got interesting. Mm-hmm. And I get kind of why it became a little bit more, accelerated publicly because of that. Because it is a fascinating concept. I mean, here's a 50-50 company. And
I just told a friend of mine who's in a split with his partnership, and I said, go read about the CrossFit breakup, because I said, it's fascinating. I said, it is fascinating. I said, that's maybe an idea for you, because he's in a situation where his members can't pay, or not members, his company, his partner can't pay him out. He doesn't have cash on hand to pay him. And I said, you could bring in an investor to buy that half then, and to pay out or get your half out, or buy his half out.
Yeah.
And I said, go look into that. I mean, I don't know all the details of what went on, but I remember, like I said, I'm always kind of on the fringe of this. So, I find, the CrossFit nerds are the people that really are into it. We're way more into it, and we're seeing it as though it was going to become bastardized by another company coming in. But
can I be honest about that a second?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I think this is really interesting. And there's no part of me that, like, CrossFit is my baby. I love it. There's nothing, all respect. I mean, what I went through with the company was hard, but when you have, what was I going to say? What was the last thing you said?
About it being bastardized.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. One of the things that, Greg and I always wanted to keep the company not going public. We didn't want investors. We worked really hard to not have that A.
Yeah. So funny you wanted that, because so many people are like, let's get investors,
that's all they want.
let's sell out, let's make all the money.
That wasn't ever we wanted to, build and be a part. That's what we wanted to do and be a part of.
Because if anyone wants to buy this show, I'll sell it tomorrow for like $80.
But when it came down to, because it tied in, it's very complicated. When the divorce was contingent on whether or not we could settle the company. Well, then you get into this, like, okay, well, is the direction of the company going in a bastardization, or would this new relationship be a bastardization? Mm-hmm. You don't, any of those paths, nobody knows exactly the outcome. The truth was that there's a company with two people, and you can't just go one day from that to, like, Greg owning everything.
Right.
Or me owning everything. Mm-hmm. There's two pieces of this. And so whether the company itself could have bought me out without investors. That would have been ideal, but that wasn't the case. Either way, we were getting investors involved, whether it was whoever, CrossFit borrowed money from,
because ultimately they brought investors,
the people that were going to pay me off.
Right.
Either way, there was going to be fresh blood in the mix.
Right.
And so that's where I feel a lot of people didn't get it. It's like,
and the other thing that I think people didn't get, and I'm not taking sides on this.
No, there's no,
there is no side to have. But my point is, if you were selling your side to investors, they still only own 50%.
It's the same situation,
right? So
I know
it's not like if you own 51%, then it's terrifying because all of a sudden they have the majority and they make all the decisions then. But with a 50-50 partner, he just has to deal with them as he would deal with you.
And believe me, this was the hardest decision of my life, and I did not make it lightly. And but at the end of the day, that fact just kind of, that was the reality of the situation. You're going to have a partner. It's going to be me or it's going to be somebody else. And because our relationship personally was so volatile, I didn't think I was the best partner.
Right.
And that's the only that's why I felt okay with the decisions, because like actually the best thing for the company is for me to get out of here. Yeah. And I can't just walk away. I got 50% of this thing.
I watched my dad and his partner split in their business, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And they have a financial business, and they were dealing with like who did more work, who invested more of their income into it, who had created more, and it lawyers and lawyers and lawyers. And I watched it go through, and I remember my dad saying to me afterwards, he said, "Never ever have a partnership." He's like, it's just...
that's like, don't get married.
I think my dad was right.
And I'm still not, I wouldn't say, I said this for a long time that I would never get married again, but I don't know that I still feel that way. And I don't know that I would never go into a partnership again. Like, there's...
I think if I ever went into a partnership again, I think it would be, okay, we'll be partners, but I want 51%, and you can make 49% of the profit, but one of us has to be the ultimate decision maker.
Honestly, like I would never recommend I guess the 50-50 thing worked out well for me in some ways.
Yes.
But it might have been easier to not have had to fight that fight.
Right.
You got 49, he's got 51, ABC, this is how this plays out. Yeah. Is because that 50-50, that's a chess game. Yeah. And you get really good lawyers involved.
Right. But at 49%, then it's like, when can you ask to be bought out and get because I see that with friends that are in companies, and especially when they have stock options or things like this, where they go, we can't pay you yet. And they're like, well, I'm leaving and I did my time. And they're like, well, we don't have the cash. And you're like, but I built this, and when we sell it someday, or when we, that could be never. So it's a very hard thing. I don't think people, I agree. Your side wasn't seen. Because.
Well, and that's fine. Like I didn't need it seen. Yeah. I wasn't looking for that, but I think, it's a fascinating, if you want to learn a lot about the law and business, it's a fascinating story. Yeah. And I've always felt like, that's kind of sad that hasn't been told.
Right.
Just in terms of like not being Greg or CrossFit or anything, but like that dynamic, it was fascinating.
And do you think it was because Greg was kind of the face of CrossFit? Like I always feel like you were like the hidden, like the silent partner. The from when I got into CrossFit, it was, hey, there's this guy Greg Glasman. He's created CrossFit, but he was co-founder. Like it was like you guys did this together, but it was always him speaking.
Well, he was, and I'm not. Despite what I'm doing here, this is personal development for me. I don't like being on camera.
Really?
Because like all early days, I took all the pictures, I did all the video, I did all the editing, I like did all the stuff because I wanted. I'm not like you.
You don't have my issues?
Maybe, but they exhibit differently. Greg's very good at what he does. He's a very good public speaker. And yes, very much like the person out there. So I think that's a big part of it. He also is, a very influential person, interpersonally. I mean, people love him and he creates really amazing relationships with people, and it becomes very complicated. I mean, people love me too. It was very, very interesting. But I think, yes, he was more the face of the company.
And so that's probably.
But the people who knew us know.
Well, I know that with every one of my friends that succeeds, and I don't want to name names, but guys who are really, really successful comedians, you almost see, you only see them because they're on stage and that's all the public sees or on their social media. But I always find either a wife or a manager that is busting their ass, that is doing everything that made it happen. And it was the complement of both of them together.
Absolutely. It's that we were talking about that. It's a compliment.
But the face gets most of the credit all the time.
Well, and I had a lot of people, after I left, I thought this was, and I told Greg this, because I thought it was a good way to look at it, that a lot of people felt like a lot of the affiliates and the people I had relationships with, when I left, they felt like CrossFit, the heart was gone. Like that I kind of represented the heart of CrossFit, where Greg was like much more this male energy and out there and, the face of it.
Right.
But definitely with the, because kind of at this time Reebok got involved with the company, the games really.
Were you in when Reebok got involved, or was that after?
That was right around when we were having issues.
Okay.
And some of our issues were about that.
Okay. Can you?
Well, it wasn't a direction I wanted to go with the company.
Okay. Interesting. Because,
And so when you talk about the bastardization, that's kind of where I was going. Would Anthos, who's the company who's.
Right, I remember.
Going to bastardize CrossFit, or was Reebok going to bastardize CrossFit? Well, and I've got to,
So it's funny. It's funny now. This is coming full circle because CrossFit now has gone to this place where the games took it one direction, where they're now trying to pull it away from that and go back to health and fitness. So from the beginning of this, that's kind of what I said. I've been doing this show, and you can fucking quote me on it. I said,
"You're making me snort."
I said, "This is this game's direction is there's only 0.01% of the population that's going to be able to compete at this level, and it's going to take it in a completely different direction." And now it's all of a sudden going back this way, and I think for the growth of it, especially in the United States, it has to, because the sport of it can only grow so far, where the ideology of it can continue to grow and is growing worldwide. But in this,
well, that's you're right on, and this is the epiphany that I kind of had when I started formulating Manifest is. I think I was watching, I forget if it was 60 Minutes that Greg was on 60 Minutes, or if it was like something about the CrossFit Games on TV or something. And I watched it and I took a deep breath. I said, this isn't what Greg and I were building. Mm-hmm. This isn't, it's great. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. The game, it's great.
But what these people do is incredible.
But what Greg and I intended to do from day one was to infiltrate this multi-billion-dollar industry that's full of fucking smoke and mirrors and bullshit and prescription drugs and crap, and we wanted to put an umbrella over legitimate health and fitness concepts. And then all of a sudden, with Reebok involved honestly, that is it. I mean, I'll be honest. I think that Reebok's involvement, got deals with ESPN, got CrossFit, on TV. And what happened for the first time is CrossFit stopped having organic growth and had inorganic growth.
Interesting.
And that's not sustainable.
Interesting.
And got me talking now. So my thought was that with that inorganic growth, there was an influx of affiliates. And there was at one point this huge influx of people wanting to become affiliates, which was an overinflated economy in some ways because it was inorganic.
And the bubble would burst.
And it did.
Yeah.
And it has in some ways. And I think that,
That's one of the 4 dogs chowing down.
And I think Greg and I, which is really interesting, Greg and I both separately in some ways wanted to go back to our roots and saw what kind of that pursuing of only elite fitness was doing for CrossFit. Because as I saw it, it was like, you've got this huge piece of the pie and CrossFit just niched itself with this like one tiny percent. When there's this huge market of people who are underserved, who still need to be helped, it's the people that, really need change. And actually it's funny because when I first started contemplating doing another company, I went to some people in CrossFit and I was like, I do not want to step on toes. I don't want to move in anybody else's territory business wise. Like, I'm thinking about doing this. Is there any reason I should be concerned about moving, like doing something in this domain?
Did you have to sign like an NDA?
No. It's nothing like that. I just wanted just being, a good person. Like, I don't want to step on it.
Non-compete on that. Yeah.
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
But I just wanted to ethically go, if I pursue something like this, would it be a problem?
Right,
because if it's a problem, I won't.
Right.
Like, I had no need to spend 4 years and tons of money developing another thing. But definitely when I started, developing Manifest, I felt like CrossFit was on a path strictly about forging elite fitness, the CrossFit Games, and that's where things were going. And I just saw that there needed to be something else.
Interesting.
And I think Greg, saw the same thing as well. And so CrossFit is also kind of shifting its focus.
Yeah, because I'm torn on that. Like, we discussed this a lot on the show of, did they say, hey, let's get back to our roots because this is what's important? Or was there a bit of a hey, look, we all know that people, because of the CrossFit methodology when it comes to like the elite fitness of like, if you're going out and working out 3 times a day and trying to be a CrossFit Games athlete, you're going to wear down your body. You're going to have injuries. You're going to bring pain to yourself. And it's also going to spread to the rest of the community, which is going to give a stigma of CrossFit.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was happening.
Does this whole let's get back to health because that will slow us down. That'll bring a bad reputation. And we need to, or was it, I think it all, what I'm saying is I'm glad to hear that Greg too sees that and wants to go back to that. And it's not just this, hey, where's our money? See,
not at all. I mean, that's the thing, Greg and I we're very similar. We were best friends for a very, very, very long time. And, believe me, Greg's not about the dollar sign. Yeah, it's not about that.
Yeah. I don't think he could be as successful as he is.
No, it's not about that. It's about pursuing excellence. It's about, pursuing a passion. It's about doing this is one thing that, when I first met Greg, we were talking about, because I started seeing the impact of when people exercised, high intensity and they added protein and fats to their diets. Like, it's pretty dramatic stuff started happening. And, he and I both made a decision at one point, to no matter what, at any cost, not quit, developing this. He's like, it's like if you have the cure to cancer, like if I could give you this bit of information and you had cancer and it cured it, and I could just tell that to you without selling it.
Right.
Would I? Like, yeah, of course I would. I'm like, just because you can't sell something doesn't mean it's not worth sharing. And so we had this passion of just like, we have this nugget and gem.
So in the early days, was it 100% all the time? This is all you talked about. This is all you did? Or
every day, what did I say? 18 years married.
Every moment.
That's all. Yeah. That's everything.
And then as you became parents and there was so much more going on in your life, was it, did you ever tire of it? I mean, obviously
I've never tired.
Still going back.
No,
you're back into it with this.
I can't. In fact, when I stopped, that was devastating for me, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's completely devastating. And that's another reason that the Manifest thing came to me, because I actually found myself in a really fucking dark place.
I can imagine.
Really dark. And, couldn't figure out how to exercise. Cause I didn't want to going to CrossFit gyms was a little bit weird, emotional for me for a while. And plus I thought I knew everything, which I did. And so it was like, you're going to coach me. Okay. I just didn't know what to do. And, being in that experience, I realized how many other people easily can be in that place of just like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't want to be laying in bed and depressed, but I don't know how to get started.
Yeah.
Sorry about that noise. That's Tasty Cake eating her bowl.
There she goes. That's the craziest one, isn't it?
She's the baby.
Oh, that's what it is.
Why don't you take that in the other room, honey? But where was I going with that? So
yeah, I can imagine.
Oh yeah, the devastation. Yeah, I mean, but because I think people, there's, like you said about yourself when I met you, you are a comedian. Trying to do something else is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like you have to do what you are. Like people like Greg and I were, visionaries, and we're entrepreneurs, and we build things and we build communities. And
this is what you do.
If you take that away from like imagine if you couldn't be a comedian,
How long did it take you from when you left to getting back on the horse again, to like start up again?
Couple of years.
Yeah, that'd be tough. That'd be really tough.
Yeah. Well, but what complicated it too is the divorce. I filed for divorce in 2009, and it didn't finalize till 2013.
Wow.
So actually add to that couple of years, that time frame, because I was just like limbo.
Yeah.
Not knowing and not being able to do much, and not knowing what was going to happen, and so that time frame. And then once I was able to move on, there was probably another 2 years before
we were joking, the cult. It's like when you see people leave a cult and they leave their whole family and all their friends and everything, their whole ideology and everything that they built on, and now they have to go start a new life.
I'm telling you, I mean, I feel I'm like I hate saying this because I would joke about CrossFit being a cult, like, cause I get the analogy and I get some ways it is.
Yeah.
Not all cults are evil, but experiencing walking away from it. Oh God. I was like, in a lot of ways, it was like life completely changed. I saw things completely differently because I wasn't involved in it. And
in the early days too, I think it was much more cult-like, whereas once it got so big, it was so big that it couldn't be. There were just too many people with too many differing opinions and everything. Too many people coming in from too many places to show, like, bring outside influence. But in the early days, I remember we used to have, my partner on the show used to be this guy, Armin Hammer, and he was a critic of CrossFit. He was a big CrossFitter. He went
Sure, there's a lot of people like that, which is cool.
But he was like a hater. But he was funny, and I wasn't. But I wasn't like, I was just like, I'm a comedian. I like CrossFit, but I make fun of it. And we went to the CrossFit Games one year, and we're in a booth. I forget if it was Sick Fit or whoever's booth we're in. And all of a sudden, these two guys in like black suits walk in, and they're like, Armin Hammer. And they pointed at him, and he's like, yeah. And they're like, come with us. And so he walks out, and we start giggling. We're like, is this really happening? Like, are we at like a Scientology thing? And so they come back in, and they're like, Armin's persona non gratis at the games. We've just escorted him out. He will no longer be here, but you guys are allowed to stay. And we were with John Gilson. We were interviewing John Gilson, and he goes, should I be with you guys right now? And I was with Kenny Kane, who owns CrossFit LA, which is Oak Park. And we're like, hey, we've never done anything. Like, I don't know what. So he goes, I'm going to make a phone call. And I think he called Greg or someone. And he called, and he's like, hey, I'm with these two. Is this a? And they said, yeah, those two are fine. They're good guys.
There was a time, I don't know if it's still like that, but there was a time that there was a lot of that kind of stuff happening.
It was creepy. It was really creepy. It was the big joke of the show for 5 years.
I didn't know anybody knew about this.
About how Armin got removed. And I've seen it with like TV shows I'm on or comedy clubs I work where nobody wants to have anybody that's toxic to their environment around. You want to remove that from what
Sure.
If you're trying to create something and someone is working against you, then fuck off. Like I delete people off delete banned users. There's guys that listen to the show that I've deleted from our Facebook page. I get it. And it was just kind of ominous how these guys walked in with like black suits on. And I was like, is this really happening? And then they removed him. And then I got a message from I remember, I think it was Rory, who I had business dealings with, and he was a good guy, and I liked him. And he said, I didn't know you're involved with this guy. Blah, blah, blah. He's a hater. And I said, hold on. I said, and at the time I said, I go on podcasts and like Joe Rogan's show and blah, blah, blah. And I praise CrossFit. So don't, because I'm affiliated with this guy, don't make an enemy out of me.
Right.
I'm only progressing the business, the sport. Don't come at me like this, because I don't need you. Right. I can actually work out whenever I want. I don't need you. Right. You actually need me. Right. I'm one of your, vessels that's out there.
Yeah, spreading the word. I mean, funny, good, bad, whatever. Right. It all helps.
Yeah. But it was funny. It was really funny.
I actually had a games one year. I forget what year. There was a sick fit after party. And I actually had Dave Castro come up to me and do one of those fucking kind of threatening things. To me. Mm-hmm.
Were you? Is this when you?
I can't remember the details.
Is this when you were out of it, like after you had left? Mm-mm. Well, you were still there. Ooh, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I have a lot of creepy stories, but
so you were always on, because it seems like there's now especially a bit of a division between the CrossFit Health, and CrossFit Games. And Castro, we know, is the head of CrossFit Games. And Greg seems to be the head of everything, but more in line with CrossFit Health. So you were on the CrossFit Health side the whole time, or were you, when the games started developing, were you like...
I love the games. Yeah. I really thought that was an important aspect of what we did, but it shouldn't have defined us.
Yeah.
That's how it shouldn't have defined us.
Right.
It's one aspect. It was honestly, the fucked up thing is that it was the one aspect that Greg really wanted to avoid early on, because he had worked with a lot of athletes. He's like, if you go at work for the professional athletes, the elite athletes, you got a small clientele for one. Yeah. You're only helping a few people. If that's not how you help the most people. And that was what we wanted. That's why I had a problem with that whole focus of with the involvement of Reebok being sponsors for the CrossFit Games and all this. Like, we're just really focusing on this, a demographic that we never intended to really focus on. We wanted to make normal people, weekend warriors, elite athletes, not spend our time worrying about the upper echelon of CrossFit athletes.
Like if you look at 10K races or marathon races, there's a small percentage that are running for the medals, and then 95% are just weekend warriors that are out there doing it, improving themselves. So I saw that from the beginning, and I was like, this is, your money's here. The tip of the spear thing, these elites.
I gotta save your backpack. I think it's yours on the floor. Yeah.
Dog's hilarious. So, Tasty Cake was just molesting my backpack.
I hope it's okay.
It's okay. So, anyway, I saw that. I saw that from early on, and I was like, even in because I have friends that own affiliates, and I would say, hey, these games competitors, and everybody think that's great, but have a games class, have a competitor class, but don't mix it, because when you're mixing, or mix it, but don't cater to them. Cater to the general fitness.
This is a funny thing that you just made me think of. I did start going to a CrossFit gym here in Portland at one point, and I wasn't in the best shape.
I just went to CrossFit X Factor, which I want to give a shout out. They're great.
They're awesome.
And they treated me so well, and thank you for having me. It was a really good time.
Portland OG affiliate.
Fucking
awesome.
Hard workout I did.
I bet.
Oh, they killed me. It was one of the 10 rounds of something.
Yeah.
And in round 6, I was like, I want to quit so bad.
Yeah. Well, so my experience was going, really great CrossFit affiliate. Really loved the people, but kind of got in the mix of, some of the customers, who were working out, they were games hopefuls, which I know, we were joking about earlier, are you fucking kidding me? It's never going to happen. But their attitude was we're so much better than you.
Oh, it's amazing.
Because you're coming in here out of shape.
It's amazing.
They didn't know who I was. but I felt I felt that, and that was probably a significant moment in me going, oh, something's fucked up here, because that's not the spirit of CrossFit ever. I mean, this day,
it's always the best helping the worst. And
and to this day, I could go meet CrossFitters, and it's like the same quality of human being that it was 20 some years ago.
You know what, though? I don't think that's immune, or I mean, I don't think that's just CrossFit. Is the only one doing
No.
I surf a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get out in the surf break, and there are guys that are acting like I'm the only one that gets this wave. Get off my wave, and you're like, you're not surfing pipe. You're not in the world tour.
Right.
It's never going to happen. Stop acting like that. So I think that happens. That happens.
But I think the games played into that.
Sure.
Because I mean, before then, you'd have little old ladies working out with Olympic athletes, and it's all support and just like you're here and celebrate movement, you know.
So you've got 4 kids. Yeah. Are they into it at all?
We do jiu-jitsu.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. They've been exposed to CrossFit and have experience there, but we got into Brazilian jiu-jitsu and just that kind of stuck.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. What do you have? All girls?
2 girls, 2 boys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And all the girls are doing BJJ too? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to start my daughter, but not, I think she's a little young at 3.
She is, I think. I think they don't start taking them until they're like 6 or something, but it's the best. It's such a good sport for kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine all compete and they do really, really well. Yeah. It's really fun to watch them develop that way. Cause it's also very cerebral, that sport. It's just like, I feel it's like a good part of why I feel okay homeschooling my kids is because they have that experience, like, with jiu-jitsu.
Kids and I look at my school when I talk about homeschooling with people. They're like, "Yeah, but you missed that social blah blah blah." I go, "Look, I went to school. I only had social. I had no schooling because I didn't pay attention and didn't do anything because there was no focus and no teacher wanted to deal with me. So I could have, if I had just had a little bit of homeschooling, I could have all that time to go be social with
friends. And that's how it works out. I mean, the truth is, you don't need all that time in school. Yeah. Like, if you want to teach something, that learning part really doesn't take much.
Yeah.
And then the social should be social. I mean, and then if you're involved in CrossFit community or jiu-jitsu, they get it all. They get it all. I so don't worry about them not having social. Like they're like got there's sleepovers. They've got, I think, 2 friends over, another sleep. I mean,
your house is hysterical. I came in, there's parrots. You have how many birds? 4, 5? 5 birds, 4 dogs, 4 children. It's
2 snakes.
Oh, you have snakes too? What do you have?
They're both ball pythons.
What is that?
A ball python?
Yeah.
They're just really sweet little snakes.
Oh, they're little?
No, they grow big.
But they're little now?
You can wait till I'm done. Thank you.
We're going to be done in a second. I feel like I've taken up too much.
No, you're fine.
I could talk to you for 7 hours though, because
there's a lot.
There's so much, and it's so interesting. And, I didn't want to pry. I feel like I've pried a little too much, and,
it's okay.
But I know it's a sensitive thing. And, when it all happened, I mean, I think for as many people that are Kool-Aid drinkers, there's just as many. Most of our listeners are the non-Kool-Aid drinkers, are the ones that go, "Hey, this is great and everything," but I'm not. Well,
it's about having a sense of humor and being humble. It's like you're a part of this amazing, great community, and just do that. It doesn't make you better.
So what's the future of Manifest? What do you see happening?
We'll see. I'm still toying with that a little bit, but we should be launching the beginning of next year or this, in 2019. And
is it kind of like, from what I imagine of CrossFit, that it was basically a virtual company in the beginning because everything was done over the internet. Is the same thing happening?
Well, because we had a facility. We had a gym, a CrossFit gym. I mean, we trained people out of Santa Cruz, but then we also built that virtual world and that community. And I actually just realized that's kind of what I was trying to do with Manifest as well, because I started with a facility, a test facility in Scottsdale. Mostly because I started in my garage, and then there were too many people in my house, and I wanted some privacy. So I opened something, and I was like, well, why don't I test all these thoughts and theories and stuff that I have? which I still think Manifest may go into that brick and mortar realm. Mm-hmm. But what I realize is I can reach way more people with way less overhead, and probably be a lot more effective done virtually, especially if I'm creative in the way information. And you'll love this. Actually, I should show you some of the stuff, because what we're decided to do is all the content is done in form of comedy instead of instructional stuff. It's all comedy based, and it's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like health and fitness and nutrition, but funny.
And do you still keep in touch with anyone at CrossFit, like any of the head honchos? Or
well, Greg. And he lives here. He's
in Portland now?
Well, yeah,
we never know where he is. We always
he's not here at the second,
he's
but
in San Diego. He's in here.
Yeah,
he's there.
He moved. He bought a house. Actually, we just moved in this house not too long ago, part because he bought a house in this neighborhood. This is
so the kids can go back and forth.
Well, this is a lovely neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
So
gorgeous.
Yeah. So he's here, and obviously with him here,
hey,
tasty. I see, when he visits, I see CrossFit folks, but I don't think I have any real direct relationships with anybody anymore. But it's all amicable. Like, everybody's good, which is a really great place to be.
Did you ever think when you were like a young kid and you were doing whatever you were doing that you were going to be part of something so gigantic? And
I'm like, go back to like, it's trippy.
I don't want to biting wires.
She'll be okay.
Scared.
I think it's still hard to accept. And like when you talk about like you go play and you see CrossFit gyms or people in CrossFit t-shirts, or you hear, I can't go anywhere. I'll be at the airport and I'll hear people talk about CrossFit. And it's just like, and sometimes I think there's like a part of me that doesn't accept that that's something I did. Yeah, it's because it's too big.
Yeah.
And it's emotional.
I can't imagine.
It's because especially CrossFit's like emotional thing for most people. So it's like not just this cool business or a cool brand or a cool pair of shoes. It's like people who are all this emotion. They have all this emotion about this thing.
And it's for me to see you like coming from I've had, my little bits of fame of being on TV and being recognized or whatever it is, but that's always weird to me.
Yeah, it's weird.
But I have friends that are super famous, and being with them and seeing that, I'm like, what's that like? Because I've never had that, and I just can't imagine what that feeling. And then to be part of something that's like, if you're famous, that's ephemeral. It's going to end at some point. Whereas this is like a movement that might never end.
Right.
And it's like you created something from the very bottom that just build and build and build and it's growing. It's got to be.
It's incredible. It's completely surreal and incredible, and I'm so proud. And I still like get really teary eyed about all things CrossFit and CrossFitters and their stories, and people coming up to me like, changed my life and all this stuff. So
I'm going to shut off the live stream right now, and there's a couple listener questions before I lose all the saved to me book. Perfect. And I'm going to ask those, and then I'll let you go because I've taken up way too much of your time.
No, it's okay.
I found
it's
it
fun.
Amazingly interesting. Where are they? Facebook. Our Facebook page, we take questions from listeners. There were a few in here. There were a few dirty ones that I have to...
Oh, send those to me, please.
This is a funny one from Ben Bruni. Who wins in a Murph race, Greg or Donald Trump Jr.?
I was really worried that the questions would be something like that.
So that was from Ben Bruni. Here's one. Joe Black wants to know. He said she worked with a gym owner at Urban Warfit.
Yep.
Urban Warfit. And please bring the crew together. He wanted me to bring Armin and Scott in. It's kind of hard to fly them to Portland. What's Urban Warfit? Is that a...
Yeah, I trained there, and they were in Scottsdale.
Okay. And is that the one? That wasn't your affiliate?
No.
What was your affiliate?
My affiliate is Captain CrossFit in Prescott.
You still have it?
No, I sold it.
Okay.
Actually, it's still thriving, though. It's 15,000 square feet of CrossFit glory. It's like one of the most beautiful CrossFit gyms you'd ever go to. Yeah, it's worth visiting.
I've visited so many.
No, it's one of the best. It's actually the best.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a couple of my favorites. Raw Athletics in Pittsburgh. I love it's just a massive place. Jeremy Tooman is a Pittsburgh Steeler. And then the one I'm at next week, which is CrossFit Max Effort in Las Vegas, which is Zach.
Oh, I've heard that's amazing. Yeah, I've heard really great things about that. Yeah. I've heard.
And then I'm, partial obviously to Paradiso CrossFit in Pittsburgh, in Venice, where I worked out and where I started, and the Paradisos are the greatest people. And now I pop into CrossFit Malibu, which have you ever been to CrossFit Malibu? It's the coolest little joint in the world, and it's in it looks like Gomer Pyle's old.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what they call that thing.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But it's so cool, and it's what you imagine a CrossFit gym.
Well, that's actually, that was our vision before finding just industrial space or whatever, is to find, be able to build one of those steel frame, corrugated steel frame.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, and it's so cool. I've been to a few cool. I was at one in Norway where I went to a gym. It was a global gym, and I said, "Hey, you guys have CrossFit?" And they go, "Yeah." And I go, I'm looking around the gym. I'm like, "Where is it?" They go outside, go out the back, cross the railroad tracks, and that building that looks like it's burned down is the CrossFit gym. So I walk over. There's no parking lot, no path. I'm walking through shrubbery and over this old railroad track. And I go in, and I'm not joking. They were playing the Rocky soundtrack.
Yeah.
These guys are beasts of men. Mm-hmm. No one says hi to me. I just start working out on my own.
That's awesome.
And they're all doing crazy stuff, these crazy dogs. I love your dogs. Click, click. Let me see. There was one other question I wanted to get in, and then that is, you can be released. Podcast on Instagram. We're back on Instagram. Where was it? I think it was Joshua Acock, who's a regular listener, said, "Have you ever listened to a CrossFit-based podcast and thought they had the story wrong?"
I've never listened to a podcast.
Well, now you have to listen.
And part of the reason is why is probably because of that.
He said, John Ware said, so is this manifest thing a ranking like Scientology or a committed belt thing like martial arts? I apologize if these are dumb analogies.
Let me think. That's a really good question. I think way more like Scientology.
Lauren, thank you so much for being a guest. This was an incredible experience. Great talking to you. I wish you all the best with Manifest. I will follow it. I will we'll promote it. Talk to us about it. We will. Sounds like a brilliant idea, and I'm sure it's going to be a huge success with everything you've accomplished in the past. I'm kind of lonely on the road, so if I could have maybe just one or two of the dogs with me back to the hotel, I feel...
You could borrow one for the night.
I miss my dogs so much.
I know that feeling.
And we're still evacuated, so my wife's taking them from hotel to hotel. And,
oh, God, that's so hard.
And we got to have the whole house cleaned and air filtered and everything before we go back in. So
good luck with all that.
Yeah, and I'm on the road till mid-January, so... you guys, my tour schedule, go to eddief.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Wadcast Podcast. Thank you to Maya Pucks. Thank you to the Leopard Claw. Thank you to Troy Willis. And also thank you, Exo Protein and the New Wave Swim Buoy. And most of all, thank you to Lauren Jenai for being our guest. And follow us on iTunes, rate, review, comment. And thanks, guys. And use our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Wadcast Podcast and donate for me working so hard. That's why. Thanks a lot.